Good morning, mathematicians. Today's math activity, just like the others, is an activity that multi-level learners could do at the same time, or it's an activity that a mathematician could work on their own. There are easy ways to adapt it for all different kinds of mathematical abilities and materials that you might have available in the home. One way that you might work on this math activity is to use a deck of cards. What I've done for this is taken out the face cards and the tens. If you don't have those available, you can always use dice as well. It doesn't matter if you have a regular 6-sided die or you happen to have 12-sided die. It makes no difference whatsoever. You can also, if you don't have dice or cards, you could also just write numbers from 1 to 9 on some papers. You want to make 3 sets of those. Put them together, shuffle them up, and there you go. You have something to use. So we're going to call this activity or bust it. So the way this activity works is you're going to decide on a target amount. Preferably, you're going to use the amount either 100, 1,000, you could even go all the way up to 10,000 if you wanted to. You're going to take a blank piece of paper and you're going to create a quick place value chart on there. So I'm going to start this activity by working on 100 or bust. So I am going to create a quick place value chart that has a spot for my ones, my tens, and also the hundreds, even though that is the target amount. But I'm also going to make sure that that's there, just so that the visual representation of place value is there as well. Keep it nice and simple. What I normally have my students do is in the section where the hundreds are, I have them continue to do their calculations as they go along. So again, this activity is going to be called 100 or bust. The way this is going to work is I am going to draw a card. For this, I drew a 5. Now, I have to start making a math decision. What do I want to do with that 5? Where do I want to place it in the place value chart? Depending upon where I place that, that is going to determine its value. So this is a fantastic activity, not only to constantly expose kids to the language of place value, but it's a great activity to really, really make them think. It has them thinking about place value and about the values of amounts once they're placed in a certain place. It also really makes them think about the size of the numbers that they're working with. So for example, if I'm working on 100 or bust, and my mathematician tells me they're going to put the 5 in the hundreds, that's telling me that they're not really thinking about the value of a 5 in the hundreds, which would be 500, which would automatically make me bust. For this, I'm going to take this 5 and I'm going to put it in the tens. If I place a 5 in the tens, that gives me a value of 50. And the way that I'm going to represent that is just like this. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to write the amount 50 in that hundreds part, because remember, I'm using the side of that to do my calculations. So you can see that. I know that I'm using the back of a scrap paper for something else, so it's kind of hard to see through it. But what you're going to do is use that as your calculations spot. Let's see if this works a little bit better. So you can see that I've written that 50 over there. Okay, so now I'm going to be thinking about I'm halfway to 100 right now. I'm hoping that I draw another 5 because that's going to get me right to my target if I place that 5 in the tens place. I've drawn a 2. So now I have to make a math decision. I can either place that 2 in the tens, which will give me 20 more. I could place that 2 in the ones. It doesn't matter if your mathematicians are stretching the length of this activity. What matters is they're thinking about the amounts that they want to use, and they're not just making an impulsive mathematical decision and busting each time. So I'm going to put that 2 in the tens. When I put a 2 in the tens, it represents a value of 20. I had 50, and now I'm adding 20 to that, which gives me an amount of 70. If you're working with your mathematician, you might ask them a question like, what would you like to get next? That's going to give you a lot of great information about their mathematical thinking as well. So if I already have 70, I'm really hoping to draw a 3 so that I could put that in the tens place so that I would have my 100. I've drawn a 6. Again, some great math decision making happens right now. If I have this 6, I can't put it in the tens place, because if I put it in the tens place, adding 60 to the 70 that I already have will cause me to bust. So now I need to put that 6 in the ones place. Again, working on place value, working on addition skills, working on the concepts of the size of numbers, working on place value. So I had 70 and I'm adding 6. Now I have 76. I like when the math activity turns to this point because now mathematicians have to think between the value of the ones place, the value of the tens place. They also have to think about the size of the amount they have so far. You could also ask questions like, with 76, are you close to 100? So they're also thinking about those benchmark numbers. I've drawn a 7. With a 7, if I already have 76, it has to be placed in the ones place. Now again, here comes another ability challenge for you because now you're going to be working on adding 7 ones to the 6 ones you already have. So now not only are you working on addition with regrouping, but you're also working on your place value skill at the same time. So I am now going to have a total of 83. You can continue to work on this math activity. If you get to the point where there are no math decisions that you can make without busting, you can put the cards away and start another round. If you want your mathematician to work on this on their own, that's where their recording sheet becomes really, really important. I would suggest you have them record all the time anyway, because it's a great way for them to visually continue working on place value. If you have different mathematicians working on the same activity at the same time, it's really cool to have them share the choices that they've made, because then each mathematician is hearing the thought process that the other mathematician is using. The only suggestion that I would have is make sure you have a target amount that all mathematicians are working on at the same time. So for example, you can have multi-level learners playing at the same time, but just make sure you are all working with 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, whatever you choose for your amount. Enjoy, happy mathing!